4 beds, rototilled. I don't know if I said, but the reason I'm putting fertilizer into these beds is because this is relatively new soil. It's only had like a couple years worth of, you know, seaweed and stuff like that. So I had a chance this morning to scrape the seaweed off into the pathway and then crunch it up with my feet and then rake it back onto the bed. And the rototiller crunched it into the pretty small pieces. I was concerned that if the pieces were too long, they might drag through with the Jang-Seeder and then pull up, you know, stuff that was seeded beside it. I'm going to hand seed this center of the 3 carrot beds. These 2 beds are going to be Yaya, so I can harvest them first. And this other carrot bed is going to be Giants of Colmar for personal use. I can harvest later on. So the center bed, I'm hand seeding, and so I marked with an empty Jang the 2 outer rows in the center row, and then I'll have 2 rows in between for a total of 7 rows. We'll see how long this takes me. I've got a stick marked at 1.25 inches in row spacing. 7 rows seeded in this bed. I've got some Jang-Seeder appreciation going on. Yaya pelleted carrot seeds from High Mowing. 8.53 ounces before seeding. And the weight after seeding, 1 bed, 6.57 ounces. And covered up, keep out the birds. Okay, before I Jang-seed the other 2 carrot beds, I'm going to work on this bed of baby greens. And I have marked out 5 rows with the empty Jang-Seeder. And I've got 10-foot increments marked out with little branches. I'm starting in this bed at the north end. I'm going to try and get a quarter bed. Hand seeding baby chard because I don't know how to Jang-seed it. When I was raking through the end of this bed here, you know, it was really weedy last year. And I'm seeing all these roots, and I don't know if they're like a rhizomus type of weed. Last year, or maybe it was the year before, I pulled out this felt piece from the Jang-Seeder to use for a certain type of seed, and I ended up just leaving it out for everything. So that's how I'm seeding right now. I don't know if that's good or bad. I am setting up the Jang-Seeder for mizuna and spinach. And so what I've got here is the rear gear is a 9 and the front gear is 14. And so what that gives me is 9 in the rear, 14 in the front, 1/2 inch spacing for a 24-hole roller. What I've got here is the mizuna, tiny little seed, and that is in the YYJ24. So this is the same stuff I got growing in the greenhouse, Frizzy Lizzy. That mizuna is small enough seed, it fits nicely enough into those little holes that I've got the brush all the way down so it won't let any extra seed come through, but it shouldn't pop out any of the seed that's in the little divots, I don't think. On one of my old Jang-Seeding videos, I got a comment saying you should just manually move the seeds through once you've set the brushes, just to see if the seed comes out. It's coming out pretty regularly, right? You know, obviously I'm not going to know what skipped, but at least there's seed coming out, right? Ooh, went a little too far. That's okay. Wait before seeding. Mizuna, 2 rows, 1/2 inch spacing, 20 feet, 0.57 ounces. Mizuna seeding after 0.57 ounces. Okay, let's see here. I mean, maybe that's just it. It's just not enough seed in 2 rows to even register. That's crazy though. When will it register? Oh, there it goes. Okay, that may be all of it, is the problem. Next up is the red tabby spinach. This is my first time trying this variety. It was kind of pretty, had a red rib. I'm going to use the F24 roller, which is what I always use for spinach, which seems to do a pretty good job. Seed seems to fit in here pretty well, but it might get snagged out by the brushes, so maybe I'll just pull the brushes up a hair. Okay, so just a hair of daylight there. I don't think that's going to let any extra seeds go through, and then it won't brush out the ones that we want to go through. That seems pretty steady to me, don't you think? I went too far. Okay. Red tabby spinach, 1.91 ounces before seeding. Spinach, 1.64 after seeding. Okay, for the carrots, I want like 1.25 inch spacing. So let's see. I mean, I kind of want it to be closer to a little bit bigger. So I went with this guy here. So that's a 24 hole roller, 10 in the rear, 11 in the front. So this is the 10 in the rear and the 11, whoa, in the front. I've made that mistake where I've switched them on accident. So let's make sure that's right. And I'm using the LJ24 roller, which I've used in the past. Now this seed is a little bit, you know, sometimes the pellets are a little bit bigger. And these are the little bit smaller size, I would say. So they fit really nicely in this divot. You might kind of feel just a little tiny bit as you roll your hand over. So I might leave the brushes up just a little bit, but that should work out okay. I went just a little bit higher with the brushes. These pellets are just a little bit bigger than the spinach seed. And so I don't think any extras will get through, but that will make sure that it's not snagging any of the seeds that we want to go in the ground. I can feel it maybe carving off some of the pellet, but I think that if I lifted the brushes up more, that extra seeds would get through, so. Okay, now I need to do 2 down through each of these. I usually do 5 or 9 rows, but I'm doing 7 rows this time because that's what Pelleted Farms said they think is optimal. So it's the first time I'm trying to follow those markings, and it's not really that hard. But this is some chunky monkey soil, so we'll see how it does. 6.58 ounces before seeding. 4.59 ounces after seeding. These pellets are about the same size, so I'm just going to do everything the same. And it's going to be Giants of Colmar in this bed right here. I'm running out of batteries, so I'm just going to zip through it. Giants of Colmar pelleted carrot seed territorial. 5.08 ounces before seeding. Giants of Colmar pelleted carrot seed. 2.55 ounces after seeding. Normally when I plant carrots, I do it before like a week of rain so that they get plenty of moisture and they germinate really well. The problem is the weather forecast has changed and it looks like we're not going to get very much rain. It's not going to be enough rain to germinate the pellets, I don't think, you know, like to dissolve the pellets. Okay, so we've got this thing positioned about right. I think this should scare away the birds until I get row cover on it. That robin doesn't seem to care. Super soggy, that's what we want. The row cover will keep the moisture in, and we're gonna have overcast days, supposedly. Okay, everything protected. I've got my 3 beds of carrots here. They'll probably take a while to germinate, but I wanted to check germination in this bed of baby chard, mustard, and spinach. At this end, I'm seeing the spinach come up in these 3 rows, and I'm also seeing some mustard come up. Carrots are up, dudes. It'll be interesting to see once I can kind of see. Okay, so here are my 3 super weedy carrot beds. That's really bad at the far end, but you can see here, like, where are the carrots? And then I've got my baby greens bed here, and I had a chance to hoe this before a couple weeks of cool rainy weather, so I just also ran a hoe through just a minute ago. So I've got these 2 beds of carrots weeded and started on this one. This is kind of what I'm doing. I'm using my wire hoe, and I'm just trying to find, like, where are the carrots. I think that the hand-seeded bed in the center here is doing a little better. It's hard to see, but let's see here. This is a carrot. Carrot, weed, carrot, carrot. And then there's, you know, a big gap. Carrot, carrot. These are weeds. Carrot, 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 you know. So it's not great, but I think it's better than the Jang-Seeded bed. So here we go. Carrot, 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 carrot. And then, you know, carrot, nothing, carrot, I don't know, carrot, I don't know. Maybe they're equally bad. Alrighty, so I've got hoops and insect netting on the baby greens. And as much as I would like to just have the row cover off these carrots, you know, these guys are so tiny that if the robins got in here, they could just really do some damage. So got some lightweight agribon on these guys. Before and after. I think these carrots are tall enough now and established enough that the robins, if they kick around in this dirt here, these guys are gonna be all right. There's my little robin friend. Everything's busting at the seams. I'm gonna grab this mizuna and spinach here. So pretty. Okay, done. And I got 1 very dense tub of baby greens. So in between customers now, I'm doing Operation Save Carrots from the Weeds. It is 10 o'clock at night, but it's still kind of light out, and I got all of the weeding done. Hand weeded everything, and then I ran a wire hoe through the things that were spaced wide enough I could get it in there. Let's do a quick checkaroo in the carrots. I bet I could have sold carrots this week, but it was a little bit crazy. Yep, I can sell some of these guys. There's my hand for reference. Carrots, people. I'm selling carrots next week. My carrot bunches are running just a little over £1. That's just by eyeballing them when I'm bunching them up. I've been harvesting out of this bed of yaya carrots, and I've just got a little tiny bit. Okay, I got the last of the carrots. Okay, so it's dry for a second, so I'm gonna start yanking out this bed of yaya carrots. Okie dokie, so this 40-foot bed is all cleared. So I've got all the yaya carrots processed here. 5 approximately 15-pound bags. This bed of Giants of Colmar I intended to leave in the ground through the winter and just harvest as I went along, just for personal use. I just wanted to talk real quick about the Jang-Seeding this season. You know, in that second bed of yaya that I harvested, I got double the amount of that first bed. But I don't think it has anything to do with the seeding. You know, the amount of seed was the same in both of those beds. I just think that it was that the second bed got a lot more time, and you can see that there are much bigger carrots compared to the first bed where I harvested them. You can see the kind of tapered tip hasn't developed into that snubby nose knot style carrot. Because I have a limited amount of space out here to rotate my carrots, I just had to put them in a place that was not optimal. Just ended up with lots of problems with, you know, chunky bed, weeds, everything else. And so I think I'm going to stick with the pelleted carrot seed compared to the raw seed that I've tried to use in past years, just because it just seems to, the pellets seem to seed more precisely. And so I just need to figure out how to get a stale seed bed or whatever, because especially if I'm going to run 7 rows of carrots versus the 5 rows, it's much harder to weed between those tight rows. The mizuna and the spinach did perfectly. It's always disconcerting with the mizuna, since it's small seed, that it doesn't, you know, the weight difference before and after is just nothing. And so, you know, I did seed some mizuna later in the season in a different place, and none of it came up. But I can't really tell, did it seed or not seed? Because yeah, the weight difference is just nothing. So anyway, yes, that's it for Jang-Seeding this season. We'll see what things look like next year.